Hi, and welcome to day 38 of the Money Challenge. We're on our final day of sowing and reaping, and this is about pulling all these strands together. Our verse for today is Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at a proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. So over the past few days, we've looked at the individual parts of this sowing and reaping process. I thought what I would do is I would share some testimonies of where me and my family have sowed for things and the process we went through in sowing for them. So my first example is this. The first thing on our list for sowing was a garden shed. For a while, we've been keeping our garden equipment in a small plastic mini shed, but the roof to this mini shed had blown off during a winter storm, and all the electrical tools had been damaged and the metal tools in there had begun to rust. Now, my wife and I had spotted the shed we wanted at Costco. However, it was about £800, and at the time we didn't have that money to spare to buy a new shed. So we sowed £100 on the 5th of June 2016. We asked God for guidance as to how much to sow. We sowed it to our local church, and we recorded the description of the seed and how much we had sown and the date on which we'd sown it. We also stated and stood in faith that we had received that shed on the 5th of June, the date we sowed it. It was actually 2 weeks later that we received our harvest. As part of an insurance claim, the insurers said they could give us a larger sum of money by means of compensation if we took payment in Argos vouchers, or vouchers for specific shops. I looked at the Argos catalogue to see if it was worth taking the vouchers, and amazingly, exactly the same shed as we saw in Costco was being sold in Argos, and the amount of the vouchers we received covered the entirety of the cost. So we gave thanks for God for his provision. The second example was, on our list was a new shoe cupboard to put in our hallway. I must say this was definitely my wife's choice, but I'd always thought the area in the front of the door was the ideal place to store shoes. However, she disagreed, and we agreed together in the end that we would sow for a shoe cupboard. We sowed our seed in May 2016. We sowed £10, again after asking God for the right amount, and again we sowed our seed into the local church. We simply recorded that we believed God for the provision and the date we sowed the seed. It was a few weeks later that we were blessed with an anonymous gift which precisely covered the cost of the shoe cupboard. We purchased it and gave God thanks. Now, the third example is my favourite example of God's provision, mainly because it's not my testimony, it's my daughter's. My daughter was young at the time, and we were talking before she went to sleep at night, and I asked her, "What do you want from God more than anything?" And she said, "Daddy, I want to be on the star." And I said, "What does that mean, Daddy?" She said, "If you're really good in class," she said, "you go on the star." She said, "I've been really good all the time, but my teachers never put me on the star." "Okay," I said, "this is what we're going to do." I then told her about the power of sowing and reaping, and I said, "We're going to trust Jesus to put you on the star." And I asked her, "How much do you want to sow?" Now, she started with the bigger amount, and I said, let's agree with the Lord, it's 20p. So she took 20 pence out of her money box and gave it to me, and I then paid it to the church. We then held hands together and we declared that we were sowing 20 pence for her to be on the star, and we recorded it in her seed table. 6 days later, my daughter's normal teacher was not taking the class. Instead, the deputy headmistress was taking the class. And sure enough, she recognised my daughter's good behaviour and put her on the star. I was so excited to see God's goodness, but I was so much more excited for this breakthrough than my own provision, because God had demonstrated his faithfulness to my daughter and was building a foundation in her life that would last her for a lifetime. I hope you take these examples as encouragement for what the Lord will do and start your own journey of sowing and reaping. These are only limited examples, and we've got several pages of seeds that we've sown and harvests that we've reaped, and we keep adding to that list. But I just want to pray with you now. Father, may I trust you with my provision. I pray you bless the seed that I sow. Amen.